Ladies and gentlemen, this evening we are going to be covering the finals of the World Championship in Backgammon 2026, arguably the main event of the year, taking place in the beautiful Fairmont Hotel, close to the coast of the Mediterranean, in beautiful Monaco, the Côte d'Azur, the French Riviera. This year the event was especially grueling, 17-point matches. You have to play 2 of them every day, I know because I played there. It wasn't easy. Every match can take from anywhere from 2 to 5 hours, matches to 17 points. You have to play 2 of these a day, and most importantly, you have to win and win and win and win. It's 4 days like this, 2 matches every day. To reach the finals, you have to go through 8 of these matches, and we have here the 2 finalists, 2 amazing players. By the way, credit for this beautiful photo of the Fairmont Hotel by sunset goes to the very capable photographer Anthony Parkinson. And here you see his website. You can, of course, order more works from him or generally browse the website and see what he does. And this year the competition was especially grueling, with many tremendous numbers of very high-level players, grandmasters, masters, people who are without any formal title but play like absolute monsters, some from Israel, some from some other countries. An amazing field. We had people like Stenik Zizka, Mochi, and other strong players. Of course, Michi get eliminated quite early from the championship, and once you lose 1 game, you are on to the consolation. It's still a tournament, still with very high prizes, tens of thousands of euros, but you know, different competition, different stories. Back in the days, you could have become world champion even through the consolation. That door was closed as of the last several years, organized by the same team that runs Backgammon Galaxy, the very capable football star actually, and the Backgammon Grandmaster, builder of the Backgammon Galaxy platform, content creator and organizer, Mark Olsen, 40 years old, organizes the tournament for the 5th or 6th years running. Great success, close to 400 contestants, over 200 in the championship division, a very difficult event. And we see the 2 competitors. We see Petko Kostadino, originally from Bulgaria, now lives in the United States, 65 years old, veteran grandmasters, many years of experience, many amazing achievements, actually classed as a Grandmaster 2 or G2, a very strong player. He plays in the match that we're going to see today against a very capable player, I would almost say equally capable, almost a notch separates between the 2. His name is Jason Pak, also packed with tournament wins, pardon the pun. He has been titled Grandmaster in 2024. We see the list of achievement here in the website. In the BMAB website, this is the Backgammon Master Awarding body. They collect, of course, the achievements and the matches of the top players. You can qualify for different levels. And Jason Pak is a Grandmaster 3. We see the differences here between Grandmaster 2 and Grandmaster 3. The differences are there, they're really clear, but obviously if we examine how well they've been playing recently, in the recent matches, and the differences are not very big. I must say the differences are not very big, they're very evenly matched. If we see later the performances ratings over this match, also very, very close levels. But we are going to see what happened. It was a big drama, big event. And without further ado, let's get started as the players are warming up, waiting for the opening whistle, and we start. The players sit facing each other. This is the beginning of the match, 0-0 to 19. Both of them are just fresh from the semifinals, which Jason Pak just won against a very strong Japanese grandmaster named Naoki Kateni, a young gentleman, about 40 years old, a very strong player. He won the ticket for the World Championship and made it all the way to the semi-final, where he was eliminated by Jason Pak, finished as a semi-finalist, while Petko had a very hard time eliminating twice former the French champion Arnaud Materne, a player, as far as I know, without a formal title, but a very strong player with many achievements, also a champion in poker, with lifetime earnings well over $2 million in poker, very capable backgammon player, European champion once, if I remember correctly, I might be wrong on this one, and also eliminated at the semi-final stage after already leading 13-8 in a match to 17. Backgammon is a very cruel game. They both make it to the final, and we are waiting for the opening roll. It's a 4-1 for Petko, who is going to be playing black in this match, bearing off to the right. His home board is on the bottom of the screen. 4-1, which he plays standardly down from the midpoint, splitting the back checkers, and we're off for a very good start. Move 1 by Petko. Let's see what Jason will roll in reply. We should say that Petko had an amazing season. He won the Super Jackpot in New Orleans back in September 2025. He won the ABT Open in Miami. He reached the Championship Consolation Final in New York, and he reached also the Championship Consolation Final in the Atlanta Classics in March. Very good season, amazing form, and we see Jason rolling a 5-4, splitting the back checkers, but we get into a double fives attack by Petko already from move 2. Jason enters from the bar and hits in the outfield. What a drama, immediately equalizing from this what could have been a very dangerous attack. Not over yet, we see Petko entering from the bar and hitting a checker in the outfield again. Petko's board is very disorganized, but it's stronger. It has 3 points. This can go very, very wrong for Jason. He doesn't hit again in the outfield. More checkers back for Petko. 4 checkers, 5 checkers back. This can become very critical quite quickly. Jason rolls a 5-1 and makes the 5 point inside his own board. Is he going to create a prime against what appears to become a back game already played? The Petko, this is quite a desperate turn of events because the black front position is not made for a back game. It's not made for containing any late hit later. This position can go sour quite quickly, and we see him, Jason, missing the cube. This was a great opportunity to send the cube and ask the opponent a question: do you believe that you're going to have enough timing? And the opponent would say, yes, I take the cube. I'm not yet committed to a back game, but the game goes on. It was missed. Petko enters the checker from the bar. This position is quite charged in White's favor. White made the 5 point. He has only 1 checker buried. Black has a very inflexible position. We can see a cube coming quite quickly, I believe. Meanwhile, let's say a few words about Jason's season. Jason is not just a backgammon player, so he has many achievements in the previous years. He won the World Championship of Doubles in 2018. He was also a champion in the UK Open in 2020, in the online Super Jackpot stage in the Chicago Classic. We see Jason running home his last lingering checker from Petko's side of the board. That laces from Petko, usually a great roll, but here a very sad one. He needs to push his board further in, desperate position. The cube can no longer be taken. Petko 0, Jason 1. What a start to this match on game 1. A failed double fives attack. It went sour really quickly. The attack backfired. Petko got checkers sent back. Many checkers. He didn't have the structure for a back game. Jason just had to make the 5 point and the cube couldn't be taken. This is the same Jason Pack, who was also the runner-up in the World Speedgammon Championship in 2024, and amazingly also in 2025. Must be a very, very good Speedgammon player, but this is no Speedgammon. These are slow games, and we're going to see a game in which the opening roll goes to Jason. We see something that begins to look like a hitting contest in the opening. 6-5, making the ace point on Jason's head. Not exactly the point that you want to make, but sometimes it's the best you've got. However, Jason replies with a good hit on the point. He does want to make the 4 point, always important. Petko runs out with a 3. And we see Jason rolling a smashing double 4, hitting a checker, bringing 3 downs into the attacking zone, finally closing the 4 point. Petko has 2 checkers buried on his own ace point. Quite clumsy, a checker on the bar. This is one of these plays that you need to really roll well to come out of it. Not happening with the 3-6. The 6 is really awkward. Then we see a cube from Jason. Unfortunately, this cube as well cannot be taken. What a start to the match. Must be quite impressive. Petko is an experienced player. He's not going to take very seriously a 2-0 backlog in the opening of a match to 19, but this was quite unfortunate. There was never any chance. The double 5 attack that backfires. These terrible double 4s in this second game. Petko 0, Jason 2. Let's go to game 3. What a start for the match. Game 3, we see Jason rolling an opening 4-1, starting to unload the midpoint, split the back checker, double 4s from Petko, hitting 2 checkers, running into the outfield. Okay, this can become interesting. Finally, Petko, no, double 5s by Jason, entering both checkers and hitting his own checker on the other side of the board. Nothing seems to work for Petko. We are still early in the match, but he had another attempt to attacking that doesn't go. Again, he's stuck with a deep point, entering from the bar inside his own board. It's not that also Jason has made a deep point. He hits another checker from Petko. Are we going to see another quick route? Is it going to be an early 3-0? Petko enters and hits in the outfield. Okay, 4th checker sent back. We see here some kind of a beginning back game for White. Also weird with this inner point made. Petko enters again and hits in the outfield. Sends a 5th checker back. Okay, this could become actually quite interesting for Petko. Petko has here the advantage, almost fully escaped. 5 checkers back for Jason. Jason tries to run out. It's not a really nice back game to be in. Petko keeps hitting and running home, 5 checkers back. Quite a bad structure for a back game. Still not quite ripe for a cube, but definitely getting there. The problem with Jason's structure is that it's a little bit rigid. No new points made other than what he started with, except for the 2 point, which is a deep point, undesirable. We see Jason replacing the back game to a better version with the 5 and 3 points made inside Petko's board. Okay, that's better. The prime is not really there. You want to prime a back game. So it's kind of a game where both players are searching for good rolls, a checker hit in the ace point, coming out to the outfield. Rigid structure by Petko, 6 checkers on the 8 point, quite ugly. Yes, he's better, he escaped, but this is still going to take a lot of work if he's ever going to make this into a win. Petko 0, Jason 2. We are looking for a Petko win in this match. Jason makes the bar point with double aces. Good roll, and notice the way that he plays the last ace from the 2 to the 1. He can make this point with a 6. Okay, this is beginning to shape up a little. It's always useful to have the bar point. Easier to bear in, easier to come down from the midpoint. Still early for a cube because it's a back game. You have 2 real points. Normally you don't double that before clearing the midpoint. A back game has staying power. You have 2 anchors inside Black's board. This roll, okay, it loses a little bit of flexibility. Black has to bury a 4th checker behind the anchors. Normally you don't want to bury too many of them. Less flexibility. And we see Jason strengthening his own position with the 5 point, but with the ace point made, it's really difficult to play a bad back game. Let's see who runs out of timing first. And Petko is forced basically to break a very useful 8 point before coming down from the midpoint. You do want to cover all of your bases still. White is not committed fully to a back game. He can simply run out. He has a better board. He has 4 points inside his board. Still not committed, very inferior. It's still not clear which way the game is going. But you definitely don't want to give him an easy way to run outside, rolling an ace, running. Black can dance a little bit and suddenly the game can become equal. So you close the blot on the 4 point, even if you sacrifice a bit of flexibility, but you still have spares on the relevant points, on the midpoint, on the 7, on the 6. We see Jason approaching his home board with the last remaining flexible checkers. It's very difficult to play a back game and stay flexible. You can reach a situation where you have a little bit too many points. Jason here has the maximum number of points, 4 inside his board, 2 inside Petko's board, the midpoint still there, 7 points. You cannot really do better with 15 checkers, very little flexibility, a very tender position. But also Petko is not super flexible, even though he has 1 spare checker on each point, 6 checkers buried inside the home board, a very delicate position to play. Much depends on the dice. A 6-5, Jason is forced to have his position split into 2 parts. He loses the midpoint, he loses some measure of flexibility. And finally, Petko rolls double 4s. He comes down from the midpoint, still preserving a spare, but it must be quite painful to have to play the last 4 from the 6 to the 2. 5 buried checkers, quite a tender position. However, also Jason is not very flexible on the other side with problems of his own, namely crunching can come quite quickly. Double aces is quite a good roll for Petko. He's kind of closing the gap in the outfield. He didn't roll high. He wasn't forced to expose a blot here in this position with a roll like, I don't know, 6-4, 6-5. These rolls would have been quite inflexible, disagreeable. Instead, he closes down his position, no gaps, a spare checker still standing on the 7. This looks like quite a powerful position for him. And Jason finally is forced to run a checker. This is no longer the proper back game. Jason is really vulnerable here to be hit on the 5 point. If Black manages to make a 5 point, this can turn ugly quite quickly. And it seems that there is a missed cube here. Apparently Petko missed a chance to cube this position. Quite interesting. Instead he rolls a 6-2, he gets rid of his 8 point. The white checker keeps running inside the outfield, and finally we see a kill. We see a kill and it is taken. What a mistake, what an error. What a dramatic error. There is no longer a back game. What a terrible decision not to drop this cube. This is a very, very exciting moment. I return the transmission to the studio where we have our analyst, Backgammon master Isaac Solsky, member of the Backgammon Learning Center. Isaac, what do you make of this? A missed cube just last move. Suddenly a cube that is taken when it's supposed to be a pass. Help us put order in this position. We don't really understand what's going on. Where was it a double the last turn? Why couldn't this be taken this turn? I return the transmission to the studio. Thank you, Isaac, for this question. This is an interesting pair of positions. Here Petko is trailing 0-2 to 19. He missed the first cube. This was a correct double and take. However, he cubes here, and Jason mistakenly takes the cube where he was supposed to pass it, later he gets gammoned. We see that these positions are quite tricky, and let's try to understand what's going on. Let's move to an analysis board where we can move things around. So this type of position is essentially a type of a backgame. A backgame is defined as a game where you have 2 points inside your opponent's board. White no longer has that, but not so long ago he had it. Now let's put this as an empty board, and let's imagine that these points are deep inside the board. Let's say that white has the ace and deuce point, 1 and 2 point inside black's board, or maybe the 1 and the 3, or maybe even the 2 and the 3. These would be deep points, okay? So when you're trying to bear in against a deep back game, normally you would like to double and you can still get a take when you're about to clear the third to last point in front of the opponent anchors. Let's give an example, okay? Let's say that we are already bearing off here, and this would be a comfortable double and take so long as we haven't borne off too many checkers. Notice that in this position 1 is off. We check it, and sure enough, it is a double and a take. Now, this kind of situation generally applies to deep back games. There are many exceptions. Backgammon is not an easy game. With experience, you learn and you also recognize the exceptions. This is apparently quite tricky even for strong grandmasters as the 2 final competitors. Now, one thing to understand is that a deep back game obviously can get gammoned more often because the checkers will leave late. Here we see in this position, black already started the bear off, and the 4 checkers are still deep inside his board. And also, in order to preserve timing, you had to have more checkers in the outfield. So the gammon rate is quite high. You see 41%. On the contrary, where the back game points are more advanced inside the board, they occupy more advanced points, like we had in this game here. When we had the 3 and the 5, the gammon risk is much less because it's possible to leave much earlier. And we are going to clear as black the third to last point before the anchors, way before we actually start bearing checkers off. So white is both more advanced, closer to home, and has more time to run because we didn't start bearing off checkers yet. However, because these anchors are so advanced, black can play behind them, so it doesn't tend to leave quite as many shots. So normally this kind of position wouldn't be takeable even if white had a true back game with 2 full points, and even if he had some timing. Let's take a look. Here, for example, let's give white a full back game with 2 points. Let's even give him some timing so that white has plenty of time before he has to crunch. And we only have 3 points to clear. We are not even clearing the third one just yet because there is a spare checker there. And despite all this, white cannot take the cube here. Not only that he cannot take the cube, this is actually too good to double. So the time to double this and get a take is when you have more than 3 points in the outfield. And here there will be a double and a take. This is a clear double and take. Compare this to our position, in which we see several differences. Here, white didn't have timing, but he could still take. Here, white didn't even have 2 points inside the black's board, but he could still take. This was a double and a take, with no timing and without even 2 points. What's the key to that? What is the reason? And the reason is burial. We speak a lot about burial when we play too early our checkers into the real points of our own board, into the 1 and the 2. Black has buried 5 checkers here. This is a problem because he's no longer flexible. It's very easy for him to leave to roll bad numbers and to leave shots because he's not flexible. Imagine what would happen if 4 of these checkers wouldn't be buried, but there would still be spares on the 7 and the 8, and this would never be a takeable cube. You see, it's too good to double. Even if white had 2 anchors, this would still not be takeable as a cube. Still too good to double. Unbelievable. The original position is a double and a take only because black has this terrible weakness, the 5 buried checkers. However, we go back to the actual match played, and here we see what happened on the following turn, with black having cleared his 8 point, and now he doesn't even have 3 points to clear. So with 2 points to clear, you definitely don't take. Not because of the gammon risk, but because the amount of wins that you will have doesn't justify taking a position like this. The amount of wins that you have, and also some kind of a gammon exposure, you don't take a cube when you don't even have a back game, and black only has 2 points to clear, regardless of the burial. This position is not that inflexible yet. Black has still spares on all of the points that he needs to clear, the 7, the 6, and the 4. So this is a double and pass. And here it was only a double and take because of 5 buried checkers. Normally, don't wait so much before doubling a back game, where the back game points are advanced inside your board. Double earlier. This is a general note for back games. It doesn't apply to this specific situation where a move ago, there was still a gap in the outfield, so black couldn't quite double just yet. He rolled really, really well. Then the double came a turn later, missed, then given when it could no longer be taken. It was taken, and we saw how that ended. Back to you, Isaac. And we're back. Thank you for the explanation. A very exciting moment. A cube that shouldn't be taken. Too many wins. Okay, this is not gammonish, of course. White still has an anchor. Maybe it doesn't hit. It's quite risky to hit loose here. If you have a blot on the 5, you might be caught. White's board is quite risky. Okay, you're not very likely to lose a gammon, but this cannot be a take. Black is so close to making it home, and suddenly we see a blunder by Black. Apparently, great excitement. This was an amazing opportunity to prepare to clear the 6 point. Suddenly, Petko is vulnerable to the big doubles, the double sixes, the double 5. He's going to be leaving a blot here, which might be met with a double shot from 2 places, from his own 3 point and his own 5 point. Quite a wrong move. We see Jason forced to run. 6-5 cleanly clears the bar point, and we are on into simply some kind of gap to bear off with a gap on the 5. Still 27.5 winning chances for Jason, who suddenly got quite a good position with some timing in the outfield, a full board. Any hit will be fatal, and apparently Jason is quite likely to hit, both because of the gap and because of the spare checker on the 6. Many rolls he would leave a short, but 6-2 is not one of them. 6-3 would have been trouble. 6-4, 6-5, even double sixes, double 5s, double 4s. So many rolls would have left a blot here, but 6-2 is very, very lucky. He doesn't leave blots. The winning chances for Jason drop to 18.5. He's still in the game. This cheesable effect. 4 checkers are clear. There is no chance to score a hit in the outfield. Petko scores again, and he has 48% chances to win a gammon. Let's watch the replay here. Let's see very closely what happened here. This was quite incredible. What an incredible turn of events. We saw here White escaping with the 4-2, entering his board, completing a full ball, followed by 6-2 by Black, played safely from the 6 and from the 2, pairing off 2 checkers. We saw 5-1, played by Jason right inside his board, not losing any timing. The board is full. It's still possible to leave blots. It's still possible to be hit and lose. Double sixes, clearing the 4 checkers that stand before the bright anchor. What a drama. Suddenly gammon chances are alive. We're back into the game. We're back into this barrel. Amazing stuff. And we're going to see here Jason struggling with the impossible task of running home, but actually manages to run. The gammon chances are run down. Probably a win, a normal win by Petko. We are going to see 2-2. 4, Jason 2, Collins again with the cube on 2 must be very demoralizing for Jason, who just lose the advantage. They're both recovering for the shock, and we're going to be showing here game 4 in which Petko starts with a 6-3. Wow. Splitting and coming down from the midpoint, being hit on the ace point, nothing very dramatic, running out, quite usual, being hit twice, entering with a 5, probably Jason is going to be scoring a point here. He has quite the attack here, making the 5 on Petko's hand. Petko enters 1 checker with the 5-4, quite unlucky, but the attack is not quite mature. We see a 2 by Jason, and Petko passes it. This doesn't look like a pass. This doesn't look like a proper pass. The attack wasn't fully there. There was a block to be hit inside the board. The position is still not quite as organized as you would like. It's still the opening. You should have taken that. Petko 4, Jason 3, coming back into the game with a 3rd accident. You could have said an opening cube that is not taken. This one should have been taken, but who knows what happened here. This will probably get treated to a much greater depth in the analysis video. Stay tuned for that one as it comes online. And we move onwards to game 5, Petko 4, Jason 3. Let's see how this develops. Game 5. It seems that we are going to see some kind of a close contest so far. We've seen Jason winning the 3 1-point accidents with the cubes that were not taken. We saw Petko win a very big game last game, quite exciting, a doubled gammon, completely unexpected, crazy rolls, the double 6s to clear his board from a blot risk, the double 5s on the last moment when Jason was just about to save the gammon. Quite interesting. And here we see another opening, this time by Jason. Jason plays quite enterprisingly. Maybe he also wants to win a gammon. This 4-1, quite interestingly. Not the most precise play, of course. Actually quite an error. He shouldn't be slotting in his own board when he's just behind 3-4 to 19. The match is still long. Quite enterprising play. Maybe he also wants to win a gammon of his own, but hit by a 4-2 by Petko, sent back, a 3rd checker, entering, hitting inside his own board on the 5 point, starting what is known as the fight for the 5 point, or maybe the 5 For the fight point, Petko enters, hitting back the checker, sending a fourth checker back, and look at this roll at 4-2. Jason Harris to establish a second point, the 4 point, also an advancore inside Petko's board. However, not exact. It was probably better to actually hit and try to fight for the 4 point inside his own board. When you fight for a major points inside your own board, you are fighting for the initiative to a certain extent. The difference between the two plays is not really big, but there was probably some preference to fight for the initiative by hitting another checker inside your own board. The black position is still not quite dangerous. You will have time to make a second point later, especially with all of these checkers that are being sent back. Not played, different games. Let's see. And we see the pattern of Petko running out of the board. Jason with 4 checkers back. Very comfortable advantage, of course, for Petko. Nice way to start the game. Nothing is set in stone just yet. Black still doesn't have a meaningful front position. These white checkers on the 24 can still run out with many rolls, the 6-2, 6-3, 6-5s, even the doubles, double 2s, double 3s, double 4s, double 6s. They all advance the back anchor. Nothing is set in stone, just a slightly more convenient position. You want to be white here without too many checkers back. And of course, white also didn't make any meaningful advancement in his position, but now he does make the bar point. Okay, that's some progress. It might be at the beginning of a prime, we don't know. Double 2s, tidying up the front position, bringing the 11 point forward. It blocks the front anchor, really textbook play, and finally we see Jason making a board point. Quite meaningful, but he still has too many checkers back. Petko still comfortably lead. However, with the 2-1, he needs to expose a blot, and now the situation becomes a little bit more balanced. It is still nice to have 4 checkers of your opponent's back, but look at Jason. He already begins to form a beautiful priming structure on his own side of the board. He has the better board, and there is a blot to hit on the 9 point. However, it's missed. And look at this awkward roll, the 4-2. There is no real convenient way to play these 2 numbers. Probably Jason does his best. There was an alternative play. It does look a little bit risky, but sometimes you want to take this kind of a risk. You want to expose some blots because you are attacking also a blot of Petko's, and you have the better board. Maybe it was time to play that. Not very clear. The 2 plays are legitimate. The other option is breaking your priming structure, as Jason does here, hitting a checker, putting it on the bar, hoping to gain some time in order to hit another checker in the outfield, maybe escape one of these 2 back checkers on the 24. Not a bad idea, but Petko hits from the bar, sending a 5th checker back and regains the advantage. The advantages are still quite moderate. No cube still approaching. Petko still has to prove that he can trap these checkers, maybe make a board point to Jason's 2, proves that he can make some progress on the front position. Still not a clear position. Petko closes another point in his outfield, something that looks like a beginning of a prime, but the structure is a little bit awkward. Not very convenient to make further board points with this tower on the 6 point, complete inflexibility. 4 points made. It might be technically difficult to jump them. Jason's front position is already a little bit too advanced. He doesn't have spares on the midpoint. Again, we see a position that is a little bit delicate both ways, but with a clear advantage to Petko. We escaped all of his checkers except for the one on the 18, but that checker is not yet under a big threat. He's priming his opponent. 5 checkers back. Quite a clear advantage, quite a comfortable advantage. We see a 5-3 from Jason. Jason brings the checker to the 24 when he's ready to escape with 6s. He would love to escape this checker because he's beginning to run out of timing. He made a stronger board, but his front position looks a little bit tender. 18-11, he clears his last remaining outfit. He's hit with the 6-1. Instant oxygen for Jason. Jason manages to get some extra timing by running this checker that was stuck behind the prime. Lucky to roll a 6, lucky to hit with the ace. Certainly Jason is still better, however the game is much more two-sided. There are 3 points inside this board. Petko still doesn't have a board at all. And suddenly Jason earns a little bit of oxygen, enters with a 5, that's always a good thing to do, run with a 3 but still vulnerable to 6s and 5s. The only problem here is that hitting also runs the front position of Jason, compromising his timing. There is always the risk of crunching. We don't want this to happen. Still advantage to Petko. Petko manages to hit with the 6 and bring another checker closer to the exit with the 2. The game looks quite dynamic. Petko is still ahead. Petko rolls double 5s from the bar, having to break his priming structure, but finally hitting a checker inside his own board, making a board. You do want a board here. This can develop into an attack. Suddenly there is no bad game, only 1 point, 1 anchor for Jason inside Petko's board.
Petko enters with a 5, establishing again his back game, 2 points. It's a front-facing back game. He's not committed to a back game. He still has the better board. He's hitting a Petko checker, can make the 5 point. I don't believe this. Double 5s from the bar for a second turn in a row. Jason is hitting the outfield. The priming structure is re-established. It looks like Petko is going to run away with this one to escape. No, Jason enters from the bar with a 5, hitting with the 3, minimizing the advantage. And 3 hitting in the outfield. This looks like a cube is coming, but no, Jason escapes again with a checker. Getting hit and getting sent back. 6 checkers back. Petko clearing. Petko building a tower on the 6. What is more important, the inflexibility of Petko or the fact that Jason might be running out of timing? Entering from the bar on the 5 point, having to play a checker inside his own ball, and we see a double. This position is already very close to a pass, still takeable, meaningful gammon chances. What will happen here? Will Jason manage to escape? Will Jason crunch? We don't know. This is why it is a cube and a take. It is still uncertain. Jason clearing the 9 point, with spares on every point, quite useful, but the result of the game is still uncertain. Meaningful winning chances for Jason, who now escapes a checker, gaining some more pressure, gaining some more timing. This can really go either way. Petko is making very necessary point inside his board, 3 points, gaining some room to bring the last checker safely home. His board suddenly is not inferior. Jason enters with a 1-5. We see Petko running the last checker, but the 4 is a little bit awkward. You don't want to use the last spare checker you have on the bar point. This can get turned really quickly. It's much more convenient to play the 4 from the stack on the 6, even though you don't like barring checkers. It's inevitable. The risk is definitely there, but Petko manages to keep a spare on every point on this position where the board of Jason is already quite strong, 4 very major points, and we know that if Petko is hit here, there is a moral obligation to stay on the bar for 3 turns. That can become quite fatal. Obviously, this is a joke. We speak about a moral obligation to dance whenever you are hit against the best possible 4 board of the opponent. Every player who watches this transmission, I'm sure, can relate to this sad fact. You know that you are a favorite to enter on every given turn. However, you stay on the bar against all odds. The opponent simply builds and builds as you are forced to watch the show from the bar. What a nightmare. But the board is still strong, jokes aside, so it's quite prudent to have a spare on every point. And this next roll by Jason, the 6-4, leaves him at a dilemma. His timing is quite sensitive. What are you going to do? Are you going to get rid of your timing, running from the 14 to the 4? Rebel, but very risky. Are you going to give up one of your bad game points? Hell no, this can turn sour really quickly. Major blunder. So you have to give up the goalkeeper. A beautiful backgammon turn, completely in the spirit of this broadcast. 24-14, that checker runs out. Less trouble for Petko to worry about. He can now play safely behind the 2 anchors. These front anchors generally don't generate that many hits for white. However, the cube was already taken, so he can simply benefit from any chance he can get. He's never getting doubled out of this position. Quite low gammon chances normally when you have 4 checkers on the 4 and the 5. Here it's a little bit more complex because there are 2 extra checkers to bring home. However, still the position seems under control for white, still manageable. 6-2, the spares are lost. The moment of truth approaches. It will soon be time to clear these 2 outfield points. Will Black be able to do this safely? Jason definitely has the timing here. He has 2 checkers that have a long way to run in the outfield. Double 3s, case in point, running a checker 12 pips, still with timing, closing a 5th board point. Petko clears a point. It seems to be the wrong point because a gap is left on the outfield. It might be quite tricky to clear the sensitive 8 point. The other checker runs home. Suddenly timing problems resurface. How is this going to pan out? Thankfully, Petko still has enough spares on the 6 to manage a 5-1. It would be much harder if it was a 6-1 or a 6-3 or a 6-4, but 5s are quite fine. 4s are okay, 3s are okay, still safe. Double aces from Jason, still preserving another bit of timing, hoping for a 6 for Petko, not happening. A 2 is also a little bit inconvenient, but you simply give up a point on the rear. You don't need these points. You're not hoping to hit any checker. And finally, the first person forced to make a concession here is Jason. He has to give up, sadly, one of his back game points. However, this doesn't look so serious because by now, Black has buried so many checkers. He's very inflexible. White has a very strong board. He can definitely be hitting even from the 20, even with 1 checker. Even if he's hit, he can still hit from the bar. And we see a 5-3. With the 5-3 here, we see Petko forced into a very important decision. What should he be doing? We see Petko hunkering down for a long and hard think. Should he be be playing safely, the 2 checkers from the 6 point, stripping himself from any possible spares on the 8 or on the 6, a little bit like we saw in the other game where double sixes were simply very lucky, but you cannot count on luck every game. The position is still very dangerous. White has a very dangerous 5-point board. He still has timing. With a position that fragile, he might even permit himself to run a checker from the 4 point. Very, very risky, but completely safe. Or should he opt? He hits the checker. He hits the checker on the 5. What is going to happen here? What a drama. Jason delays a little bit before rolling, torturing his opponent. If he hits on the 5, this will essentially be game over. What a hit, what a risky hit, what a bold move. And I don't believe it, Jason doesn't enter. Suddenly gammons are 50% likely. Are we going to see another doubled gammon? And we see Petko closing his 5th ball point. Unbelievable. Jason dances another turn. The audience getting more and more excited. Petko blows off a checker with the 6-5. Still dance from Jason. In a game that doubles, that clear the vulnerability and there are more checkers. Jason tries running home. You see, we are going to see a second in this match. Wow, we one game apart. Jason only won a couple of accidents, 3 accidents, 3 points, and Petko is winning a second. Jason 3, almost halfway in this match to 19. This can be a very big moral blow for Jason. Will Jason be able to recover from that? We're going to see in the next game, which starts with a 6-1. Jason makes the bar point. Petko jumps over it with a 6-3. Hears it. Jason tries to prime, brings another checker down, splits his checker, starting off with a small and modest advantage. But what a blow he got in the last game. Another doubled gammon. He's behind 3-8. This looks, he's trying to keep his cool, of course, playing professional backgammon. But what a moral blow to be blown out of the board in 2 straight games, twice a gammon. The dice are so cruel. And we see Petko actually escaping a second checker with a flare, hitting Jason in the process. Jason is accumulating on Petko's side of the board. Petko again close to escaping. 5-4 is fully escaped, making a point in the outfield. Beautiful structure. Are we going to see a replay? Not necessarily. This is not going to become a back game. This is now looking like a holding game with Jason anchoring safely on the bar point. Advantage to Petko in this game, but this can still go either way. The position from Petko is a little bit kind of fragile. He needs to tread carefully with Jason holding the goalkeeper inside Petko's board. The 3-2 must be played safely, cannot take too many risks here. You want to play it solid, you want the game to be for 1 point, you want to advance slowly. You are already leading by a lot, and we see a slight tactical error, quite understandable from Jason. Here you see an alternative play. You do want to make already a board point of your own and increase the level of risk. For Petko, who is playing from the front. Instead, we see Jason wanting to quickly build his board, preparing the 5 and the 4 point, but just momentarily allowing Petko to get away from an inconvenient roll by rolling a 5-4. And suddenly it's quite okay to hit inside your own board, because also Jason has blots on his side of the board. This could have been avoided by making the 5 last turn. However, look at this. Jason enters and covers the meaningful board point on his side of the board, which is hit with a 5-1, a combination of good news and bad news. The good news is that you get to hit. The bad news is that you don't really have an ace that you really want to play. Vulnerable to have a second checker sent back into this budding, priming structure by Jason. Missed on the front, but actually hit inside his own board. Jason is trying for a 3-point board. He's trying to make the 5 point. However, it is hit back from the bar. Petko rolls so well from the bar in this match, especially when it comes to 5s or double 5s. Hitting checkers as he goes, making his own 5 point, reaching a very, very comfortable advantage as Jason enters, anchors on the 4, but he simply has 5 checkers back again. Hitting loose, but there are too few checkers in the front position. And Petko doesn't manage to enter, and Jason closes a 3rd ball point, almost equalizing. And now the game is fully equal. Petko enters with a 1-4, enters on the rearmost 24 point, a little bit inconvenient to escape. There is still no big danger of attack, but the 4 is inconvenient. You have to bury a checker on your own side of the board. Yes, Jason has 5 checkers back and Petko only 1. Jason's board is better. His structure is overall better. He doesn't have buried checkers, 15 active checkers. The game is fully equal. Now we see that Jason has fully equalized the game. A little bit of a respite from this doubled gammon affair from Petko. Maybe we see Jason heaving a slight sigh of relief. At least in this game, nothing major has gone wrong just yet. Jason rolls a 2-1, tentatively coming down from the bar point. It's a long way home. The game is still pretty balanced, and Petko manages to escape hitting. The game seems again to be under control. He's on the way to a full escape. Jason needs to enter on the 24, doesn't hit Petko. Petko runs to safety on the midpoint. He's fully escaped, fully safe, except for that pesky blot on his own 2-point, which is now getting hit and sent back. Will this turn dangerous? The board is still not quite as dangerous. Not most of them, but 7 of Jason's checkers are still on Petko's side of the board. Still disagreeable to be sent back. Escapes with a 1-6, getting hit again with a 6-5. A 9th checker in the zone. This could become dangerous. Enters with a 1-5. And here we see Jason committing one of the largest blunders in the entire match. Very tempting to make a 4th board point, but you are still not completely attacking and overwhelming Petko. It was much more urgent to bring more checkers into the attacking zone, escape your point that is deep inside the enemy territory from the 21. That would have been the better play. 21-9, a formidable front position. Don't forget that after this roll, Jason would also be leading the race. So racing, attacking, creating danger, that would be much, much preferred to simply making a board point while having so many checkers back. You have 4 checkers back. Even if you try to attack, you cannot close out an opponent. Strategically, it is still unsound, even though it looks good. Not to mention that you can be hit with a 6. That was very, very unlucky of Petko not to roll the 6, with a 5-4 also exposing a blot inside his own board, simply because there is really nothing left to do. His position is actually quite fragile. And we see a cube from Jason. Taken. Jason seems to be rather committed to attacking at this point, even with 4 checkers back. Hits inside his own board, gets hit back. Not a tragedy, he already has 4 checkers back, but this kind of slows down the attack, bringing the game back into an equality. But he enters and hits another checker inside Petko's board. This can become dramatic. This can become a gammon. Petko dances 2 checkers in the back, 1 on the bar. Jason closes a 5th point. This can become decisive quite quickly. Petko manages to enter, has to be really careful how he plays the 3. You don't want more blots inside your field. That would give extra motivation for Jason to hit loose inside his board. Double 6s, 2 checkers escape and come into the front. 13 checkers in the zone. Are we going to see a gammon, a first double gammon for Jason? Almost equalizing the match. The result would be 8-7. We see Petko not rolling a 6, not able to escape. Water horror, 2 exposed blots, he couldn't even anchor, gets hit. Fortunately hitting back, but look at this awkward 3. Not played very well, exposing a 3rd blot inside his own board. You cannot afford that many blots, even though no play was appetizing. Probably there was a consideration of losing the 6 point. You can remake it later, but 2 points are better than 3. Slightly better. Still the position is very advantageous for Jason, who now rolls 4-3 from the bar, hitting as he enters and hitting inside his own board. The attack seems to be low, but Petko rolls an ace, hits back, gets hit again. He's going to have now 4 checkers back, 2 on the bar, he cannot enter, the 2 checkers are hit, 4 checkers on the bar against the 4 board. Enters and hits with 2 checkers. Still very inferior. 4-6 from the bar. Misplayed by Jason. You should run a checker into the outfield. Bring more ammunition into the game. Escape from behind the board. Quite a serious blunder. Petko obliges him by again not entering from the bar. It's difficult to enter against 4 points that are so powerful. It seems to be much easier to enter when the 4 points are not ideally placed. Just my impression, probably completely wrong. Not to mislead any of the viewers, of course the chances are just the same. But we can joke around a little bit. 9-2, a 3rd checker on the bar. Staying on the bar with 3 checkers. How can this not end in a gammon? 4 checkers on the bar. Dancing. If you can only roll an ace and close that 5th point on the board, not happening. 3-2, it's a very, very useful roll, quite instructive. You can actually remove one of your points to cover 2 blots, playing both checkers from the 4, 4-2, 4-1. Look at this beautiful final position. No blots, 5 points in the board, 4 checkers on the bar. This got to be decisive. Petko enters a checker. This is very small consolation, but he enters the 2nd one. At least he cannot be hit again in the board. He cannot be closed out. 4 checkers on the bar, very likely to be a gammon even if you enter. There is a limit how fast you can run all of your checkers, obviously. Jason still approaching his home as Petko keeps dancing and dancing on the bar, entering a 3rd checker. And now finally entering a fourth checker. With a 4-3, he can start running. Too dangerous to venture into the outfield with this 4-3. You don't want to be put to sleep again for several turns. This is critical. You are probably getting gammoned anyway, but try to save it as Jason brings his last checkers into his own board. And this is a very desperate race. Quite impossible to save the gammon here, obviously. The bear-off is advancing quite nicely. Petko is doing whatever he can. He tries to double fives. Is this going to be enough to save the gammon? Apparently not yet. Apparently not yet. It's still quite far. Jason is almost clearing his board, but 4-1 is awkward. You cannot bear off any checker with this roll. Petko manages to catch up a little bit, still quite desperate, and we see another blunder from Jason. You should have blown off 2 checkers. You are not risking a loss by doing that. He clears a checker from the 5, very pretty looking, but look what happens to these gammon chances. They drop from 58 to 50, might be important. Petko keeps running with a good 6-3. One more checker blown off. It seems that Petko is running quite quickly. Jason is going to pull big doubles right in the last moment when it counts, like we've seen Petko doing before. 5-4, very useful. Are we going to see the big doubles? Not happening, and this is just a loss. This is just 1 point loss. The cube was on 2 points loss. Okay, Jason catches up somewhat. He didn't get any of the big wins, the big scorers, the big gammon with the cube. However, he did win a majority of the game so far. This is the 4th win by Jason. Jason wins himself a 4th game to only 2 games won by Petko. When Petko won, they doubled gammons, and that matters. Still catching up, closing the gap psychologically and on the table from 8-3, that looks already quite desperate, to 8-5, signaling that there is still a long road to go all the way to 19 points. You are only behind 8-5. The entire match is still open, and the referee whistles for the halftime. We see the players going down, each to his own respective dressing room. We are going for the break. It's going to be a 10-minute break. Soon we are going to be the coach for Jason in an interview here, if you can catch him. Maybe he's exchanging encouraging words with Jason in the dressing room. Quite important to moralize and motivate him. He's doing well. He won 4 games. He's playing very well. Some blunders in this last game. Obviously some missed chances. This should have been a doubled gammon. Very close. It's very hard to win a match when your gammons are neutralized and the opponent's gammons are celebrated, but still too early. 8-5, this can go many possible ways, and Jason goes down to recovery, much needed to reset himself and come on the right foot to the second half. Meanwhile, we're going to take a break also here and leave you with a word from the sponsor of this show. See you after the break. Hi, this is Backgammon Master Itzhak Solsky. I'm the sponsor for this program, and I'm a trainer with the Backgammon Learning Center. We watch videos in order to learn backgammon and improve our play. We like reading books and articles. We like posting questions in all kinds of backgammon forums and take advice from strong players. But if we are serious about improving our game, there is no substitute for a methodical approach. like having a personal coach take us systematically through all of the aspects of the game, teach us the reference positions, and see where we are stuck when we have a problem, where we think the wrong way, where we always tend to have the same kind of errors. A personal coach can notice our specific needs and failings and take us exactly through the road that we personally need to travel in order to reach the next level as soon as possible. Why spend years trying to collect all of the relevant information on our own, while a good coach can simply show us what we specifically need to learn at our own rhythm, at our own time, always recognize the next bit of information that will take us to the next level and save us a lot of time and effort in our backgammon journey. Join the Backgammon Learning Center today. You'll see the email address in the description. Drop me a note and let's schedule your first lesson. We are about to start the second half of this match. We see Petko and Jason coming out of the dressing rooms, looking refreshed, sitting back at the table. This is going to be the seventh game. What a closely contested match. Two doubled gammons by Petko. The score is still 8-5. Jason crawling his way back, point after point, really doing it the hard way. Luck is against him, but anything can still happen. This is game 7, and we see the opening roll on the board already. It's a 3-1 for Petko. What a lovely start. Petko doesn't hurry to play, but of course it's the best possible thing you can roll on the very first turn of the game. And we see, of course, the play, making the 5-point, very powerful. Less convincing 6-2 from Jason. You need to come out and wait to be hit by 5 checkers from the midpoint. There is nothing better to do, but that's not the best start for Jason. He gets hit with a 13-7, nothing special. You are expected to return the hit. 1-5 is not so good. You might be getting primed quite soon. And here we see a little bit of an imprecise move from Petko with the 6-4. We are going to speak more about this in the analysis. 6-4, hitting the third checker, sending it back into Petko's board. Jason rolls another 5 when he's entering. It's quite well known that when you try to enter from the bar, if you roll one of the numbers that cannot enter, quite often it's not very good for you. 6s are amazing because you can hit back at least and be in the fight and disrupt any kind of a priming idea, send more checkers back from Petko. But a 5 is really inconvenient. How many checkers can you play from the 13? You begin to extend your position quite narrow. 6-1 hits inside his own field. Quite unfortunate. And what do we see here? Oh, it's a double. It's a double from Petko. He's leading 8-5 and he's sending a cube. Only 9 checkers in the zone. It can still be taken, but there is some structure already that is forming against Jason. 3 checkers back, maybe a 4th being sent there as well. Petko's double is accepted. He doesn't hit the checker on the back. He hits a 2-4. Nothing better than to enter and hit inside his own board, hoping to make a 3rd board point. And Jason dances on a 2 board. Quite unfortunate. 6-1. Petko misses an opportunity to make a 3rd board point, the 2 point. quite understandable in the heat of battle. And Jason dances again. Are we going to see another doubled gum? Petko's position keeps advancing. You cannot really resist when you keep dancing on a 2-point board, and we see double threes. Not only a third board point made, but also a fourth one. Finally, Jason enters with a 1-6, but what a way to enter. You're very likely to be hit again. Of course you are. The structure keeps building. It becomes increasingly difficult to enter from the bar. However, Jason is in, and he does have an anchor. Indeed, it's the worst possible anchor, you can say, in many ways. It is the most backwards. On one hand, of course, you can get primed, you can get gammoned quite easily with that kind of an anchor. On the other hand, it could catch late shots. And the key point is that he only has 3 checkers back. Sometimes when you have 3 checkers back and you don't have many other vulnerabilities, and the opponent still needs time to bring all of the checkers home, you're still a favorite to save the gammon. This reflects in the percentages. 39% gammons in this position, the risk is real. And we see a 6-3 from Petko, closing the prime, but he still has to bring all of these checkers home. There is still time to save the gammon even later, even with the prime closed. And here we see an imprecise move from Jason. You're not supposed to leave more blots, more targets. It's much better to play inside your own board, leave everything safe, or get more checkers sent back. Not played. There is still a vulnerability on the 13th, not hit, double sixes. Somebody has to run home with a hurry. The prime is maintained. What a lovely move, though. In many positions, this type of move is quite easy to miss. You're making a point with a checker that will bring all the way back from the home board of your opponent. And now we approach the moment of truth. Very soon it will be time to clear the last remaining point. In the outfield, the bar point. Complete the bearing, start bearing off. The gammon chances are there, but many things can still happen. Let's see how this plays out. We see another imprecise play by Petko. More about this in the analysis. He brings a checker home. Number 5, that's a mixed blessing. On one hand, you're not going to be stuck with many checkers in the outfield, so your chances to save the gammon are slightly better. On the other hand, it will be quite difficult to make the important 5 and 4 points and hope to trap a checker in case you score a hit. So this also could bring down your winning chances. And we see Petko not wasting any time. Double threes, all of the checkers are home. One is already borne off. And we see here the big drama, the race for the gammon. How is this going to end? 2-1, you cannot do much. You want to escape with a 6. But the bear-off continues, nothing really special. However, we see that Jason has a challenge running out, and the checker runs out with a 5-1. Beautiful. If he keeps running like that, he might be saving it. 6-5. Petko clears his 5 point. With the 5 and 6 points cleared, a lot of the vulnerability is off. You increase your winning chances a lot in this type of position as the stronger party by clearing off those points. They have a lot of vulnerability associated with them, and look at this 4 point, how overloaded it is. This means that many more checkers are going to be born before any blot can appear, which means that even if you do get a blot hit and closed out, you're still in the game, you can still win because you born off quite a number of checkers. 18-7, a useful roll from Jason, who is running double fives! Double fives! Unbelievable, and he's not getting hit, he exposed the blot. 3! This is unbelievable. I don't know if it's even precedented in the history of the World Championships. 3 doubled gammons in one match. Amazing. 12-5. 12 Petko, 5 Jason. 3 doubled gammons in one match. Petko is definitely getting very good dice in this match. This is unbelievable. A 3rd appearance in the World Championships final, 65 years old, an entire career, and what a reward, what a final reward with 3 double. Obviously this match is not over yet. We've seen Petko come back in the semi-finals from a 13-8 deficit to 7. This is 12-5 to 19. But I believe that we are already seeing something quite unprecedented here. Don't remember seeing 3 doubled gammons won by the same competitor in the World Championship finals ever before. Do you guys remember it? Write in the comment if you have any kind of a recollection. By the way, if you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel. It definitely helps us stay afloat. Like the video, put any kind of a comment, and we go into game 8. Petko 12, Jason back 5. Will he be able to come back? Petko gets the opening roll again, and this time it is Jason's turn to make the 5 point early. Reciprocated by Petko by double aces of his own. Sometimes we chess players joke around and speak about this type of a beginning to the game as saying that both sides have castled into safety. The 5 points definitely gives a lot of safety. In chess you need to castle quite early. In backgammon you depend on the dice, but sometimes it does happen like that. And Petko gets some kind of a priming structure already, making the excellent bar point right away. and Petko escapes before too much damage can be done. Apparently inaccurate. We are going to see why in the analysis. And with another 6-3, we see Jason also escaping. So both checkers now have one checker back. The advantage is comfortably in the hands of Jason, though, with the 7-point made and a more continuous structure. Petko doesn't roll so well. The 5-1 here is not convincing, stacking the 8 further and having to advance a checker from the 6. Not very easy to make new points. Not with the 6-1 from Jason, he increases his flexibility. A 5th board point becomes very likely on the 4, maybe on the 3. Another bad roll from Petko, quite an awkward structure. Are we going to see this here? And yes, it's a double. It's a double from Jason. Jason cubes this position, quite understandably. Both checkers have one checker back, but what an ugly position here on the white side, with no fewer than 6 checkers on the 8 point. The midpoint completely stripped. This can go sour really quickly. And we see a 3-1 with Jason finally making that 5th point. Still possible to jump over it. You roll a 2, later you roll a 6. Anything can still happen, but the structure is not promising for Petko, who does make a 3rd board point though. Slight improvement there, we can see that. Jason brings the last checker from the midpoint. He would like to escape this last back checker. He can escape anytime he rolls a 6, unlike Petko, who now rolls a 5-2 and makes a very useful 4th board point. So Petko improved his position considerably. We see the evaluation slightly shift toward equality, not quite there yet, but close to equal, and getting still closer after double aces from Jason, which doesn't really do much, but run out his spares. You prefer to have the spare on the back. It is much more flexible. When you have it on the front, it's not that useful anymore. However, look at these double 5s from Petko, completely demolishing his position. I mean, it's a tactical play. You have to clear the 6 point. You have to put a checker on the bar. Maybe the opponent will dance and you can roll a 2 and you can roll a 6. It's a far chance, but it's still there. Jason dances 5-4. You want to roll small. You want to roll the aces, the deuces, advance the back checkers. You don't want to crunch. You don't want to run your front position. That's quite unfortunate for Petko, who already has quite a ruined position here. Not really in risk of losing a gammon yet, but dancing, for example, is not necessarily that bad for Jason, even though entering and hitting or entering and running away would even be more crushing. But dancers, you cannot really complain. You stay on the bar, you see the position of the opponent self-destruct with many of these big rolls, another 5-4, 2 checkers climb the stacks already in the home board with ugly gaps on the 7, the 6, the 2 double checkers on the 8 point. What a ruin. Jason stays on the bar for another turn, really far from a tragedy. That's really, I mean, you get even amused staying on the bar like that. And obviously what you don't want to see is a 2-6 from Petko, who has another 5-4, the 3rd turn in a row. Is that true? Wait a minute, not only is it true, but apparently it is quite contagious, as we see now Jason dancing on the bar for a 4th straight roll against the 4 board, quite a unique occurrence in its own right, and rolling a 5-4 for the 2nd time in a row. On his turn, Petko's dice don't want to stop the 5-4 fest, and he rolls the 5-4 for the 4th time in a row. 5 consecutive rolls of 5-4 by both players. But this is only amusing, of course, to Jason, who enjoys the show from the bar. Petko completely self-destructed his position. Just compare it from 4 moves ago. This still looks half decent. You have a problem, you have a checker to escape. You put a checker on the bar, and look how this position simply implodes into 4 points that are not even congruous inside your own inner board. What a miserable position for Petko, but Petko doing very good damage control. Notice the only vulnerability is the checker on the 24. You are very likely to lose this game, but you're not getting gammon with just 1 checker back, even if it is closed off. Nothing special to worry about. The cube is on 2, you lose 2 points, you're still safely leading 12-7. You can forget about it on the next game, who knows. And finally we see Jason enter from the bar with a 2-1 on the 5th turn. It's about time. There is nothing really special to do with the ace. You can of course split the midpoint as he does. Maybe you roll a 4-3 and you make a full prime. That's not a bad idea. Or you can even slot it maybe. Not that much flexibility in the outfield. Petko plays it safe with a 6-3. You cannot do anything with the 6, but you play inside your home board. Obviously, Jason doesn't want to leave the board because these are the chances to collect a gammon. Rolls like 6-4, 5-4, 6-3, 5-3, all of them leave a blot. 3-2. Okay, I didn't see this one coming, but apparently Jason is taking here quite a calculated risk, making a very big play. We're going to focus on this roll and the way it was played by Petko. Apparently not completely accurate, but quite enterprising. The idea is clear. You didn't have to leave 2 blots. You leave them anyway because you can advance with the back checker with the 2, and maybe there is a chance that you don't get hit and you manage to escape with a 6. It's a far chance, but at a guess this play gives the best winning chances, but there will be an increased cost here in gammons. You can get gammon quite often, not only that you have 2 checkers that are vulnerable inside your own board, Petko, but the checker now standing on the 22 is also vulnerable, and white will not hesitate to hit loose there, going for the gammon, especially at this kind of a score. But anyway, blocking the escape, trying to advance the prime, trying to close out as many checkers as possible. We're going to look at this more in depth in the analysis because there were some alternatives. We're going to examine them to their merits. However, Jason dances it with a 4-1. None of these beautiful possibilities are materializing this turn. It must be very, very frustrating for Jason. Sometimes you just can't get a break. I think your Petko doesn't take advantage. He should have rolled the 6 and run away all the way to the bank in every sense. Instead, he can clear one of the blots, but quite pathetic, and the blot gets hit here. Okay, Jason is back in the game. We might be seeing here a closeout, maybe of 2 checkers. Petko dances. Jason closes a point on his board. He's to be on his way to a nice doubled gammon of his own. You cannot have all the doubled gammons just on one side. This makes no sense. However, Petko enters 2 checkers, completely primed, both hit and put again on the bar. There is nothing Petko can do from behind the prime. You do want to close these checkers out. Dancers, a 5th board point closed. Obviously, we know that with 2 checkers closed out on the bar, you only win a gammon about 40% of the time. This can still be averted. Petko still keeps dancing. Double aces for Jason. Tries to optimize his checkers as far as possible to make the last remaining point in his board. Not completely necessary for the gammon, but it can be trouble sometimes trying to clear all of your checkers, bearing them off over a gap. Closing that point is not only good for the gammon, it's also good for the win. Petko enters a checker with 2-4, gets hit back with a 6-1, cannot enter, and we see a very funny roll, a very, very comical roll from Jason. Jason gets really so many unlucky rolls in this turn. Let's look at what the position looks at after it. Gammon 6s are always nice, you know. You clear checkers, you bear off, you accelerate your gammon winning chances, but in this position when you leave 2 blots, and this is what Petko needs now, entering and hitting a blot, and suddenly he's not only saving the gammon, he's also going to be back in the game. Petko dances with a 5-1. What a crazy game. We see double 5s from Jason. Is it a mixed blessing? The 2 blots are still there, but 4 more checkers born off. That cannot be bad news. And 1 is hit. We see 1 checker enter from the bar. This can really go anyway. I mean, you know, having to run around the board and enter again from the bar is hardly great news when you're playing for a gammon, but apparently it can still happen. 18% gammon still here for Jason, which is about time, but the chances are not so big anymore. We see Petko entering the other checker. Very interesting ace here. Notice playing from the 3 to the 2, maybe in some cases preparing a 4th board point, but a little bit too ambitious, a little bit not careful enough, increasing the gammon liability. You're not going to win this game in all likelihood, but having another checker hit in an eventual exchange of hits might be the difference between just losing and losing 4 points. Wow. We see Jason rolling an awesome double 2s, putting Petko again on the bar. Petko enters, runs into the outfield. Jason follows. There is this kind of a clash on the outfield. Jason, in trying to avoid the double shot, also exposes a blot inside his own board. Apparently inaccurate. You should just run. You might hit a checker in Petko's board. Increase your gammon chances anyway. And Petko hits and is not hit back. Jason enters and runs into the outfield. Gets hits again with double 3s. You see Petko's approaching his board actually, and Jason doesn't enter. Wow. Suddenly the win is already not so clear, even though it is true that Jason has 6 checkers off. But imagine, and Petko covers the 4th board point. The strategy worked. He's not a favorite to win, of course, but his 34% is definitely in the game. Jason enters. Okay, we will see a bear of here. Definitely Jason is the clear favorite. And yes, of course, Jason is winning this. 2 points, little by little, trying to catch up from 12-5. It is now going to be 12-7. 3 doubled gammons we've seen here. This is absolutely crazy. Jason is not giving up. He's giving his best play in this game and in the one before it. He played better than Petko, trying to catch up. Let's see how this continues. The next game, game number 9. Jason starts with a 5-1. 5-1, you generally don't want to slot to that point. Of course, when you are behind, you do want to slot in some cases. You want quickly to create a hitting game, a priming game, an attacking game, making the 5 point, making use of that fifth checker on the 6 point. The problem is that you cannot cover it very easily. Only threes and aces do. And if you are hit, we see now Petko hitting with the 4-2. Okay, it's never good news to have a third checker sent home on the very first move. We see the 5 for the 5 point. However, no, the only thing that Jason manages to do is to have his more and more checkers sent back. This is sometimes the risk when you're trying to play very aggressively from the beginning. You are forced onto a back game. We've seen Jason play many back games in this match. Most of them ended in doubled gammons against him. Bad news, quite demoralizing. He's behind 7-12 in this match. And we see here Petko making the 5 point. Apparently not quite accurate. You should hit 2 checkers. But you can blame Petko for wanting to play solid, making the 5 point when he has such a big and comfortable and convincing lead, making the 5 point, and apparently it is here now Jason's turn to blunder. It is tempting to anchor against all this avalanche of checkers coming down. However, you should have continued the 5 point, Apparently the correct play was hitting on the 5, anchoring anyway. This is the thing, you anchor anyway, but the 3 is more useful 5ing for the 5 point than trying to play inside the Petko's board and putting yourself vulnerable to more hits and to more point-making plays. That's quite understandable. And look here how this play is immediately punished by tools by Petko, pointing on these 2 blots, creating a third board point, unloading 2 extra checkers from the 6th, creating a beautiful structure. It doesn't matter that you lost your 5 points, you still have a beautiful structure. Jason is quite lucky to enter with both checkers. This is normally a position that you would like to double as the person with the initiative, with the move, with the turn. Probably not when you are holding such a lead, 12-7. You kind of hold it with the cube, you slow it down. You don't want unexpected turns. You don't want to receive a 4 cubes with a lot of contact, with gammon still on the board either way. Look at the restraint here by the leader. Petko doesn't hurry to give the cube. The position looks quite threatening, but he holds it and he keeps hitting. Look at this. He keeps hitting on the 5, but this is apparently inaccurate. Even though the white position is not dangerous, 7 checkers in the zone, no new points made on the front position, you still want to anchor, you still want to play solid, make the anchor on the 20 point, increase your winning chances, don't take unnecessary risks, don't leave 3 blots on the board, don't open yourself for trouble, play sterile, play close, play for 1 point, play a solid game with a cube that comes later in the game. And here we see Jason fighting for the 5 point, Petko rolling a 3-6, not managing to close any of the blots. I wouldn't say that he's exactly vulnerable. He has a really powerful position. Jason still needs to prove how he develops his play. And he's making the 5 point. Amazing. The 6 should have been played for the back. 24-18. Apparently better play. Not completely accurate. We maybe see the signs of some fatigue from the players. It's been a very long day. They've both been through grueling semifinals. Petko had to come back from a 13-8 backlog against Arnaud Matern, twice the champion of France. This happened on the same day. This match has been quite long with all of these doubled gammons and Jason still not giving up, still playing well, still in the game. And we begin to see some minor mistakes from both sides in this game, some of the tension being broken. And we see finally Jason manages to hit that pesky slotted checker on the 20 point, trying to come out from the back, sending Petko back. Petko is being sent back, enters with a 3-4, sends a 5th Jason checker, white checker inside his own board that is still stronger. And we see here Jason dancing. And Petko rolls an amazing double 3s, making the point. Jason enters with a 2-6, enters 1 checker, 1 is still on the bar. Technically too good to double. You don't want to take risks. The lead is too great. You're very happy to conclude quite a difficult game. Cash 1 point, bank it, come closer to the win. This is what you want. You want games that are 1 point each. You win a point, you lose a point, you win a point, you lose a point. And little by little you approach this magic number 19 that gives you the crown and a 91 or 89,000 euro prize. Petko is playing it solid. This is the way you should go about it. We see the computer giving some technical slight error for doubling now. Technically, it's still a little bit too good to double, but too much is hanging on this match. You really want a point in the pocket. You don't want to take risks here. The bar point by Jason could prove dangerous later in some scenarios, maybe not immediately, but why take a risk? Also, it's hard on the nerves to keep all of this tension. True, you could play for more, but take a point, start a new game, breathe, start fresh. Petko 13, Jason 7, and we move into game 10. Game 10, Petko 13, Jason 8. We see Petko start with a 5-1, which he plays very solidly, not trying to slot anything, not going for any tricks. This match is way too important. He has very considerable lead. Just don't throw it away. Play very slow, play very solid. We see Jason making the 5-point on the first move, followed by Petko doing the same. Are we going to see a slow game of maneuvering? Jason runs away with a 6-3 before he can be primed. It's always better to have only one checker back. Sixes are open for the other checker to run away. Quite comfortable for Jason to escape the first checker. And Petko cannot escape, of course, with a 2-1, but he can anchor, save himself from attacks, from gammons. And we see here some inaccurate play from Jason. You want to make more important points. Probably the best strategical point you can make now is the 4-point. So moving that checker from the 13 to the 10, 6 away from the 4-point, more strategically correct. From the 10-point is doing more than from the 11, and moving 6-5 is not exactly ideal. Petko doesn't waste any time, making a third board point, correctly judging that it's more important than advancing the anchor another place. The anchor is quite comfortable for now on the 22, doesn't look like he's getting primed anytime soon. The checkers are a little bit awkward, Jason's, but making the 4-point is really, really important. Otherwise, those two checkers on the 6-point are a little bit without purpose. Quite important. 5-1. Okay, not the best rolling from Jason. Answered by 4-2. Petko brings down two checkers from the midpoint. He wants to make the bar point if it's only possible. And we see 4-2 from Jason. And we see that this is an inaccurate play, but here we need to learn a very interesting device. Black is threatening to make the bar point, so you do want to come forward with your back checker and tell Black, okay, you are going to block the bar point, but you need to know that I can also escape to the 16 point. If you want to block me, you need to make the 16 and the 18, and this is not happening this turn anyway. You need to keep the way out. Of course, you expose yourself to attacks, to being hit. You can even be hit loose because you're threatening to escape. You're going to lose a gammon more often. But between me and you, what has Jason got to lose at this point? If he manages to escape this checker, a cube will come quite soon, probably. And if he gets pointed on and attacked, okay, it's only one checker. It can still enter again. If he gets gammon, he was already way behind. You need to advance to the 22. Petko rolls a 4-2, making the bar point. Now it's much harder to escape from the 24. If you stood at the 22, you could run with any 6. Jason rolls a 5-1, apparently not quite accurate. You needed to play a little bit paradoxically here and bury a checker, or at least play inside your own outfield. Not so good. You lose flexibility when you bring another checker from the midpoint. You are left without spares. Next time you roll a 5, it's going to be quite awkward. You need to preserve the 5 for later. This is why you don't want to play it right now from the midpoint. And we see here simply Petko running away from the butterfly anchor, the 22 anchor, running away a checker, taking advantage of the 5 prime that he built on his own side of the board, minimizing the danger of being attacked. He always has a checker trapped behind the prime, good moment to run, and of course he gets hit simply because there is nothing else to do. And we see here that basically Petko missed a big cube here. He should have cubed, but of course one thing is on paper, another thing is when you are playing for 89,000 euros and a first prize and prestige and becoming world champion for the first time at age 65. So maybe you don't want to double this position even though it is technically correct. You keep playing, prefer to cash a point very quietly. Much has been said about this miss cubed here, more about it in the analysis. We are going to go much deeper into this in many ways. We see that Petko does hit the block. This was by no means guaranteed, but of course having two checkers trapped behind this prime is absolutely awesome. Jason enters, gets cubed, has to pass, apparently too good to double again. Not by much, losing chances are still there. Probably it wasn't urgent to double this turn, but Petko simply throws another step to the promised victory. We had 12-7, then 13-7, now 14-7. This is the type of match that you want to play as the leader, like I said before. Winning a point here, losing a point there, nothing dramatic, delaying the cubes. Playing it small, playing it slow and patient, making it seem like the hard work has been already done and you are now just being careful, being precise, being surgical, technical, accurate. But this is backgammon. Wild things are always bound to happen. So let's go to the next game, game number 11. In this game, we see Jason starting right away with a board point, not the best one, but still it counts. You don't want to play completely crazy from the midpoint and slot the 5. This is unwarranted. It's a play, but you don't want to make it. It's a blunder. Some people would do it, but not Jason and not today. He's playing responsibly, he's playing solidly. He still has some chances to win this, even though he's behind 7-14. Sometimes the key is just playing patient, making the correct move, hoping for a turn of luck, but not actively helping your opponent by going crazy without any justification. We see Petko not losing time in running for the 24. However, he's getting hit loose with a 3-2. Apparently here it's not quite accurate. But see here, we see Petko entering with the 1-6, re-anchoring on the 24. Jason made some progress on his front position. You cannot blame him for cubing in this score 7-14, even though it still looks kind of shaky. But Petko has more blots on his side of the board. I can understand the cube here. However, it's really difficult to understand the pass. Yes, you are leading 14-7. Yes, you really want to play small games, but some cubes you normally need to take. Who am I to judge? I'm not playing this position for 89,000 euro. But I don't think that I would be capable of passing a position like this. This is quite a big blunder. This is maybe the most serious blunder of the World Championship match. This pass on this cube, however, it is far from dramatic. What happens here? You go from leading 14-7 to leading 14-8. You want to avoid trouble. You want a new game. Inaccurate. The backgammon gods are not going to forgive this, but we go to the next game. Game 12. Game 12, 14-8, advantage to Petko. Jason starts with a 4-2, always very useful and quite encouraging to start by making a good point inside your own board. When you are that far behind in the score, you begin to immediately think, how soon can I double this? Except that Petko answers with double twos of his own, making the 4-point inside his board, and most importantly, advancing the anchor, making it a lot harder for the opponent to prime him, making it a lot easier for himself to escape with pretty much any good doubles almost. The anchor is good, it's quite advanced, quite good security against this board point by Jason. 5-1, again we see the slotting play like we saw several games ago. Adventurous, enterprising, not quite accurate, you still want to split. Your opponent began to move, you also want to move the back checkers with the ace, especially when Petko was another double twos, hitting on the 20, securing that vanco, bringing two checkers from the midpoint, no blots for Petko, a very enterprising position, putting Jason on the bar who enters with a 1-6 just in order to be hit again. Apparently the computer recommends bringing another checker into the zone from the midpoint, reinforcing the front position further. Not played. Instead, Petko plays a little bit more careful, clearing the point, clearing the 11. You have to leave a blot in order to hit. You might be hit back, but you have an anchor, but you are not even hit back. Petko is free to roam. Normally this would be already quite a cubable position, but not when you are leading by so much. You don't want to leave your opponent a chance to re-cube you to 4. With so much contact in the position, we see 4-1. So this is developing into some kind of a priming game. Let's see if Jason can improve his anchor. He cannot, double fives. He's making a useful third board point. Some deterrence against premature attacks. However, we see Petko undeterred and hitting with the 6. Cannot be blamed. What else would you do with the 6? Apparently the correct play was reinforcing the structure. You want to get a priming game. You hope that you are not hit on the way out by the yellow checker. You want maybe to close that point or make another useful point and simply cube and win a clean game with continuous points. Blocking white in. Already you have the makings of a cube here. Petko's anchor is advanced. Jason's anchor is on the 24. There is some vulnerability. Definitely a cube is brewing, but the best way to get there apparently is by priming, not by trying to attack, to hit loosely. When your own board is worse, and of course you're so far in the score ahead. However, quite luckily, Jason enters again on the 24. 3 checkers on the 24, never good news, against a formidable structure by black. Are we going to see it? Are we going to see it? Is it coming? And yes, we see a cube. Again, we see a double on the board. Normally you pass this kind of a double without thinking. However, Jason takes it quite correctly. When you are that far behind in the match, you are looking for any glimmer of hope, any glimmer of coming back, coming outside, because the recube to 4 will come really, really early. And if somebody needs 4 points, potentially maybe 8, it is definitely Jason. This stake is quite close. It is really close to a pass. Jason correctly recognizes it, many accurate decisions in the match. Naturally, we focus more on the errors and the blunders because they're so rare. This is really top flight players both of them very strong grandmasters, very seasoned, many trophies, many prizes, a lot of experience in international tournaments, very seasoned players. They do get excited, but never too much. The play in this match is definitely world class. Many of us would envy this level of play, sustained over 8 long matches to 17, and this one to 19, the last one over 4 consecutive days. These people have been hardened by tournaments. The cube was taken. We see a 6-5. We see the 3-point made. There is only one blot on the 13. Not very tragic, even if hit. White's board is not so risky. Petko is anchored there on the 20. Great advantage. We see Jason making a 4th board point. Still not a heavy threat, of course. Petko runs home with a checker, waiting on the 20 point for any vulnerability to come from the midpoint. Difficult to come from the 24. You need a specific 4. Not a happy position for Jason, but he owns the cube on 2, so things can still happen. Anyway, as a fair, he manages to escape a checker into the outfield. Apparently, astonishingly, because of the score and because he's holding the 2 cube, you would say that the equity here is no longer so much in favor of Petko. One could potentially imagine another turn, another 2 turns that go well for Jason, and suddenly a cube could definitely be flipped back. Imagine Jason running another checker out, being hit, hitting back, putting Petko on the bar, the cube will come immediately, or maybe a double falls, or maybe Petko rolling badly, not managing to close a point, having to run the forward position further. Jason does have a dangerous board. This could go wrong, however he makes the 5. 3-2 making the 5. Again, this familiar pattern of a 5 prime, convincingly blocking 2 checkers on the 14. The game is pretty much in the pocket. Not much gammon exposure, of course, hardly any blocks, 2 checkers back. We see Jason securing the 2 checkers from the midpoint, strengthening his board further. It is 5 points already, but this is illusory because most likely he's going to crunch very soon, because how are they going to escape these checkers from the 24? You move one of them with an ace, you get hit with a barrage of spare checkers. And Black wouldn't mind hitting loose here even against the strong board of White, because it's so difficult to escape 2 checkers. You need to roll twice an ace, you need to roll 2 6s before you crunch your own board. Not much timing in the outfield, only 1 checker left on the 15. And we see Petko completely sealing the deal with double 2s. Again, sealing a full prime in front of these 2 checkers on the 24. We've seen this before, it ended in gammons. Even though, as we explained before, Petko is far from a favorite to win a gammon at this point. Of course, only 2 checkers back. In most cases, they come out easily. Not many checkers in the outfield. The gammon percentages are still moderate, 20-21%. That can happen, but not very often. Notice how Petko chooses to come out with 1 checker to the 18, completely not afraid to be hit. After all, he trapped Jason here behind the full prime. He would like to be hit back, maybe also get a 3rd checker back, increase his gammon chances. The gammon here, quite unlikely of course, but would still lead him to Crawford. 18-8, Crawford, 11 away, 1 away. By the way, I was now in Monte Carlo, and one of our fellow Belgian players, a very capable player, managed to lose a match from exactly this score. Was leading 16-6 Crawford to 17, 1 away, 11 away. He lost the match. Even a gammon is not completely the end, practically speaking. The chances are really low to come back from the Crawford game. 18-8, you have maybe 3% to win the match as the trailer. You don't want to be gammoned here, but sometimes you can't help it. You are a slave to the dice. And Jason rolls double 5. Any level of danger that his board might have posed is now completely gone. Notice that he could have played differently. He could have hit a checker, apparently better, but he doesn't want to make it easier for Petko. There is no real threat either way. He doesn't want to make it easy for Petko to send the 3rd checker back, increasing the gammon probability. So he plays simply, clearing the 6 points safely. He wants to lose a single game, and look what Petko does. Petko plays like a true hunter. He doesn't make a point on the 18. He spreads his checker, hoping to catch the white blot, hoping that the white blot will hit him, pick and pass maybe. We see a 5-3, there is really nothing to do. You need to hit. And of course, Petko is happy to dance. He's waiting for more blocks to be exposed. 5-4, Petko dances. 2-1, the 5-1 can still be played safely. The last remaining pick to play on top of your points. You still keep a 4-point board, no blocks exposed. Petko dances again, and finally we see Jason expose the block, which is immediately hit. Wow, this spread and wait strategy paid off. We saw Petko spreading his checkers, getting hit, dancing for several turns, waiting for a block to be opened. The moment the block was opened, it was hit. Jason cannot enter. Look what happens to the gammon chances. Now it's almost 40% gammons. Still a favorite to save it, even with 30 checkers back. But it's getting there. It's getting there. 3 checkers behind. One of them entered. Now we are only waiting for Petko to open the bathtub plug. Let Jason's checkers come out into the outfield, run back home and save the gammon. 4-3 cannot move, of course. Petko doesn't hurry, of course, to open up the plug. There is no risk in keeping it closed for another turn to maximize the gammon chances. He runs home the last checkers with the double threes. We see 5-2 from Jason, opening a blot inside his board. The board is not dangerous. You could even roll a 6-5 and expose the blot, and maybe it actually increases your gammon chances. Double threes, again, I like it when Petko begins to roll doubles when it's time to bear off. We've seen it already happen 3 times, and now double threes coming home effectively and bearing off a checker. What an elegant move. Jason has me to roll a 6, not happening. He can only move the ace. We see Petko clearing up the wrong point, maybe the 5 point, but still a checker born off is a checker born off. We see Jason unable to move for another turn. The gammon chances are coming up. Actually, now Petko is already a favorite to win. A gammon with 51% gammons, leading the difficult 6 point, and now he's 57% favorite to win the gammon. We see Jason still not able to come out from the 24. Okay, are we going to see the gammon? Are we going to see the Crawford game after this game? Is this going to be a fourth? And doubles from Petko. 3 threes from Petko. Are we going to see another gammon? Is this going to be... Jason is hit with a 3-1. This is going to be a gammon, ladies and gentlemen. For 4 times in this match, we are going to... What is this? What is this? Double sixes? Double sixes, we are not even going to see the Crawford game. 19 to Petko, 8 to Jason. This match is over, ladies and gentlemen. We have a new champion crown. Petko Kostadino is the new world champion. 19-8. What a match with 3 tripled gammons and 1 doubled gammon, completely unprecedented. For Jason, he played so well. He kept coming back. He kept making the cautious plays, the enterprising plays, but whatever he did, the dice didn't favor him this time. But there are still more times to come to the final and become a champion. Take an example from Petko. He did it 3 times, and he's now crowned, running away with the championship, running away with the cup, with a beautiful money prize, putting his name inside the Hall of Fame of all-time backgammon world champions. Petko Kostadino is the world champion in 2026. I return this broadcast to the studio for a last word from our sponsors. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment, and see you in the analysis video coming soon. Hi, this is Backgammon Master Itzhak Solsky. I'm the sponsor for this program, and I'm a trainer with the Backgammon Learning Center. We watch videos in order to learn backgammon and improve our play. We like reading books and articles. We like posting questions in all kinds of backgammon forums and take advice from strong players. But if we are serious about improving our game, there is no substitute for a methodical approach, like having a personal coach take us systematically through all of the aspects of the game, teach us the reference positions, and see where we are stuck when we have a problem, where we think the wrong way, where we always tend to have the same kind of errors. A personal coach can notice our specific needs and failings and take us exactly through the road that we personally need to travel in order to reach the next level as soon as possible. Why spend years trying to collect all of the relevant information on our own, while a good coach can simply show us what we specifically need to learn at our own rhythm, at our own time. Always recognize the next bit of information that will take us to the next level and save us a lot of time and effort in our backgammon journey. Join the Backgammon Learning Center today. You'll see the email address in the description. Drop me a note and let's schedule your first lesson.